Hello everybody, this is Jacob Lawler here with another edition of How to Handle a Buyer Escrow. This is part 2, Introductions and Starting Off on the Right Foot. Now, before we begin in the content here, this is part 2 in a series of videos. So if you haven't watched part 1, make sure to click down on the button below, which part 1 was on the overview and the organization of an escrow, which is really how to set up the escrow to get you started for this next part. So if you haven't taken the time to watch it, please do so. Click the video here. So if you have, let's get moving on, because again, this is part 2 of a 5-part series. Part 1 was the overview and the organization. Part 2 today here is introductions and starting off on the right foot. Step 3 in video 3 will be physical inspection and how to handle the request for repair. Step 4 is doing the appraisal, the loan approval, and how to handle contingency removals. And finally, step 5 will be closing the escrow in the last minute hiccup. So if you do recall part 1, a quick recap is to make sure you don't spend your commission dollars yet, because the work has only begun, and to make sure that you are communicating with all the parties involved, making sure your clients get a daily connection with you, whether it be phone call, text. Personally recommend calling them. That way you can hear some nervousness in their voice if that starts to creep up. Again, prepping you that this is an emotional process, that clients may sometimes seem to act irrational or illogical, or if you remember from the last video, again, they can get downright upset. But remember that it's just part of the process, that as soon as you close escrow, you talk to them later, all that goes away. Escrow, generally the first week or so is a whirlwind of activity, followed by a lull period where you're feeling like you forgot something, and then finally you close out with a whirlwind of activity. And the steps to the great start, if you recall, and hopefully you've gotten to this point already: get the fully executed contract, organize your important dates, connect with your TC, forward all necessary documents to the lender, coordinate the physical inspections, connect with the escrow and coordinate the initial deposit, which is this video, connect with your clients. And again, the important dates for you to have, so hopefully you have this at a place that you can have at all times: the date of acceptance, the due date of the initial deposit, the due date of the contingency removals, close of escrow, and the possession transfer date. So let's get into the introductions, because they really are the key to an efficient and effective escrow. Really, there's 4 main introductions that you really should make, and you should have these systematized. So what I've done here is I've actually given you guys access to my Word documents of the introductions that I do, and all I would do, and all I do with the agents, is I give them this file so that they can just copy and paste this into their escrow. Which, if you can copy and paste this into your contact management system, create a Google canned response, or anything along those lines. But the 4 main introductions you should make is: number 1, to the listing agent, making sure you get the information out of them that you want. Step 2, escrow officer or officers, depending upon the escrow company that you're using. Step 3, the lender, to make sure that we get the ball rolling with lending. That way you don't get caught with the 11th hour, hey, we don't have this information. And finally, to the buyers. So in terms of the listing agent intro, when you guys click and actually get access to all of the Word documents, this is what it's going to look like. So it's just a quick, I like color coordination only because agents, we tend to skip over things. So I like to make things bullet pointed. I like to bold. I like to color things that are the most important. But basically, I always try to send this off as soon as I get word of an accepted offer. Immediately fire it off to them. Usually it's in the evening, but I'll usually say I have a few initial questions. Can you please send me the fully executed RPA? Because remember, in the last video, make sure you have the fully executed RPA, not just that final counteroffer signed by all parties. So again, so you can forward it to the lender. Is there any specific day/time that works best for the sellers for the physical inspection? You're being proactive. You're saying, hey, we want to get the ball rolling. Give us that information as soon as possible. Also, do you have the seller disclosures ready? You are going to get a packet of information from the sellers of specific yes or no questions about the house, meaning, has anyone, died in the property in the last 3 years? Has there ever been any water intrusion issues, any mold mold issues, anything along those lines, very specific pieces of information that the buyer are going to want. So you're asking for them up front, because ideally, which is what we're going to go over in the next video, is that you want to have all that documentation for the physical inspection, which we're stating in here that it will be ordered tomorrow. If you're going to order it today because you do it in the morning the following day, change that around, because again, it's a Word doc, so feel free to modify, change anything so that you can really make this yours. You're asking directly, can I please have escrow and title contact info, so that you can coordinate your introduction with them and also coordinate the initial deposit. Again, showing that you're proactive, showing that you're professional, showing that you want to get the ball rolling. Also, now you may or may not utilize this depending upon its being applicable to your transaction, but have you already completed the termite inspection? So most really good listing agents will have already done a termite inspection with their sellers. If anything, just to find out if that is a point of negotiation, how much money that will mean to them. So if yes, can you please forward me the report? If no, would you like me to order the inspection with our trusted company, or would you prefer to utilize your people? Again, asking to coordinate with your TC in here, and I left in our TC's contact info just in case you want to use her, because she is fantastic. Love you, Lisa. Anyway, escrow officer intro. So once you get escrow contact information, you can utilize this. You can just say, hey, I'm the selling agent for the insert listing agent's property here at this address. We're very excited to be working with you. The 3 questions that I want to know from escrow is, number 1, do we have an escrow number yet? Very important. All of escrow wants, they usually track, escrows by escrow number, where we usually think address. So it's good to be able to communicate with people with their dialogue, their verbiage. Also, can you please forward me your wiring instructions for the buyer to bring in their initial deposit? Different schools of thought for initial deposit. Some people like dealing with checks. Other people like dealing with wires. Me personally, my way of doing business was doing wiring instructions. There has been a rise in wire fraud as of recently, so just make sure that you tell your clients to call the escrow office prior to actually sending the funds, to verify that the account and the routing numbers match their current ones, because there has been instances where they are changed in transmission between the escrow company and to a client. So make sure that you do verify those numbers, have clients ask to verify those numbers prior to actually wiring. Also, would it be possible to have escrow instructions? NHD stands for Natural Hazards Disclosure, and prelim ready for our physical inspection, which will be blank. So hopefully you should be sending this out after you've already coordinated that physical inspection, which again, we're talking about in the next video. So realize that it's late notice, so I understand if you cannot get them ready by then. Again, we're really excited to be working with you and look forward to a smooth escrow. Again, all you're doing is you're being proactive, showing that you're professional, and also that, you're courteous, and that's why I like to add in there, the different things that say, I realize that it's late notice, so I understand if you can't get them ready by then. You don't want to just come in hard charging, beating your chest. These escrow officers are oftentimes bombarded by files, so you want to be someone who they like dealing with, that when you give them a call, they like to talk to you, as opposed to, oh crap, this guy or this girl's calling us again. So then we go to the lender intro. Pretty basic intro, because there's really only a few things you want to do with this. All you're basically saying is, hey, we've received an accepted offer for whoever your buyer is. Attached is the fully executed RPA. They need that in order for them to start their file. So try to get that to them ASAP. That's why that first email is to the listing agent, to get all this contact info, all of these details, so you can then send out these later intros. You can tell them that the inspection is being ordered tomorrow, so let's get the ball rolling. I personally, again, there's different schools of thought on appraisals. Some people like to do the appraisal before the inspection. Here's my rule of thumb, is if you can get the inspection done within the first 3 days, wait to do the appraisal until after the inspection. The reason why I personally operate this way is that sometimes, every time, inspections and appraisals cost money out of the buyer's pocket. It is not built into escrow or anything like that where they pay later. That is due upon the order. So I would prefer to do the inspection prior to having them shell out money for appraisal. Because what if the inspection comes back and the foundation is crumbling and oh my goodness, we don't even want this house, and they've already shelled out $400, $500 on the appraisal. Conversely, if you are really pushing the value of this house, maybe do the appraisal first and hold off on the inspection. So maybe you're looking at the house is in beautiful condition, but we're really pushing value. So maybe hold off on the inspection and maybe order the appraisal first thing. There is no this works every single time. Every single escrow is the same. That doesn't happen in this business. There is going to need to be some massaging of time frames, massaging of dates, and that's the purpose of these videos, to kind of give you some different perspectives, but just giving you a skeleton that you can base the rest of your business on. So I'll update you regarding the ordering the appraisal. Let me know if you need anything. Again, talking about transaction coordinators in here. Making sure you CC your transaction coordinator on every single piece of communication between buyer, seller, all parties involved, because they are operating based upon the information that they have. Make sure they have enough information. Again, over communicate versus under communicate. Finally, the fourth and final intro is going to be the buyer's contact, the buyer's intro here. Now, as you can tell, this is a lot more information because this is basically what these buyers are going to remember for the entire transaction. Again, congrats on opening escrow. We have a few quick pieces of information. So you're giving them escrow contact info because they're going to need to contact them on some type of a basis. Again, attached are your wiring instructions for you to bring in your initial deposit ASAP. Again, not telling them to wait those 3 business days, because you don't want to make escrow call the client to say, hey, where's your money? And you don't want the listing agent to call you. That's how you start off on the wrong foot. Let's start off on the right foot, get them to feel like you're really proactive, you're moving forward, they like dealing with you. That way, if hiccups come later in the transaction, they'd be more willing to work with you. I have scheduled your physical inspection for blank time, which will be an upfront cost to you due on site. Now, if you know the number, put the number in there of, $400, $500, whatever it is. Again, letting them know all those important dates that we talked about last video on that you want to get, so you're itemizing them in there. Again, letting them know down towards the bottom, if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact me anytime. I understand that this is a huge transition for you, so please give me a call whenever you have questions or concerns, even if it's at 3 a.m. Now, if you're one of those agents who only works from 9 to 5, number one, I have serious doubts about you, but also then you just don't put that in there. Again, transaction coordinator may be contacting you from time to time regarding miscellaneous paperwork. So I hope that this video has taken some questions, given you some systems to give you some answers. So again, feel free to click on this picture right here to get access to all of those intros. It's just to a Dropbox account that you can download them right there. They're just simple Word document files that you can modify, that you can, take with you, that you can keep them. They are yours. I'm giving them to you. I'm not charging you extra money for this or anything like that. So don't worry. Feel free to utilize them and feel free to modify them. And if you like some different templates, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below, maybe a link to them that you like to use, or if you just have any questions or have suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. So if you're ready for part 3, you've done all these, you've sent out all of the intros, feel free to click down below because we're going to talk about physical inspections and the request for repairs. So just take a few quick seconds to get your intros put together, systematize this work, put everything into systems. That way, when every single escrow rolls in, you have the system. You don't have to think about it. Hopefully this was helpful for you. I'll see you at the next video.